Hello, financial accounting students. Today I wanted to take a few moments and go over Project One. In Project One, you will be doing some data analysis using Microsoft Excel. The great thing is there's some great tutorials that'll step you through it. So as long as you just know how to open Excel, save a file, click in cells, change worksheet names, you'll be just fine. So on our homepage, if you scroll down towards the bottom, I do have a module titled Projects, and I'm publishing that right now, so it is live. If you click on Project One, which is due here on October 15th, you will open up the Project One instructions that include all of the files you need to complete this. So I wanted to go over it just to be clear. I know there's a lot of files here and a lot of information. So I thought if I kind of showed you where to start and what to do, that it would make life a little bit easier. So basically what you're going to be doing is the first thing I'm going to do is open up this case file. So the case file tells you kind of the overview and the background, why we're doing this, and the requirements. So as you can see, there will be 8 total requirements. This is just a nice overview, and it's telling you what questions we're answering. So basically the whole point of data analysis is to take large amounts of data and put them in a format where we can condense, consolidate, group that data in a way to make it meaningful. This is very important in accounting to be able to do that. We know in accounting we need to question things, and we're in financial accounting, so we are looking at sales or inventories or receivables and things of that nature. In this case, you're really looking at insurance and sales information. So this is actually real data from a national insurance company. So it's very interesting to actually be able to look at real data, real time, real world information. So this case information just tells you kind of what questions we're going to be answering. So we're going to be able to answer, for instance, on part 2, part A, what state had the highest sales and what was the total dollar amount. So again, the whole purpose of this project is to be able to learn how to group and analyze data in a meaningful way. So we really don't necessarily need to keep this open, but it's good reading. What you will want to do, you have 2 options really. As you can see on step 1 here, it says you can either watch a video tutorial or open up a PDF step-by-step tutorial. This will actually take you through the exact steps you will need to complete to do this project. It's really up to you whether you prefer watching the video or opening up the PDF step-by-step tutorial. I personally like the PDF step-by-step tutorial because I can work at my own pace, but the video is also great if you want more visualization. And I'm just going to show you the PDF, for instance, here. So as you can see, it's nice, it's screenshotted, so there's lots of information here that's useful. It kind of tells you what we're doing and how we're getting started. So it actually just tells you, start by opening an Excel workbook. The workbook you're going to want to open depends on how you want to proceed with the project. So these are the instructions. So you definitely want to either open the video or the step-by-step tutorial. And then again, you have 2 options. You can actually start with this tutorial data set, which I think is 24 records, and practice doing these pivot tables and analyzing this data. And that is completely fine. Or if you just want to go right into the project data, you can open up the project data set, which is the end-all project that you will be doing. The tutorial really follows the tutorial data set, but the steps are the same. So even if you just go straight into the project data set, you can open up the tutorial and the steps you take are the same. You're just going to have a lot more data in that project data set. Okay. So I'm going to open up the tutorial data set just to kind of show you to get started. Okay. And I click on Enable Editing to open that up. So here is, make this smaller, the data set for the tutorial. Okay, and if you ever are noticing these pound signs, if you go up between the two columns, you can double click and it'll show all of the sales. So here's just 24 records that we're dealing with in the tutorial. Okay, if you see this says main tab down here, this is the worksheet tab. Okay, so that's my data set for the tutorial. Again, when you actually complete the project, you want to open up this project data set. Okay, you are going to follow the tutorial. Okay, so again, if I open up that tutorial, I am following these steps using the Excel file. Again, for illustration purposes, I will do just one to kind of show you what I'm talking about on this tutorial set of data. But again, overall for the project, you do want to use the project data set. Okay. And notice when you are in the project data set, there are check figures here. So you can kind of double check yourself as you go and make sure that the data you're pulling is correct before you take the Project 1 quiz. Okay. So again, here's my data set. Here's my instructions. Okay. And it tells you this data set is based on real life data from a national insurance company. It has been made anonymous to preserve privacy. We are only using 24 records in this tutorial. The actual activity will be a full data set. So the answers will be different, but the process will be similar. So you can use the same tutorial. This is using Office 365 Excel. 2016 Excel should work just fine. Even the 2019 version works. I did it in my office. That's what I have here in my office. I just wasn't able to do requirement 8 with the map, and that's okay. So start by opening the Excel workbook. Well, I have it open, I just have it minimized. And again, I'm just going to show you one. Excuse me. Okay, so we're on the main tab. Requirement 1 is to find and correct errors in the region and insurance type fields. And as you can see, this tutorial gives nice screenshots. So it says click on any cell in the data in the main worksheet. That's what I'm going to do first. And then on the insert ribbon, I'm going to click on pivot table. Okay, so I can click anywhere in this worksheet, go to insert, pivot table. You are good to take these defaults in this create pivot table dialog box. So it's selecting our whole data and putting it on a new worksheet. So I click OK. As you can see, that opens up a new sheet where I'm now in a pivot table, which is just a way to organize data in a meaningful way. And notice I now have this new sheet 1. Okay. So after I've done that, I've accepted the defaults, I've done all those steps. I want to right-click my worksheet tab and rename it as requirement 1. So I come here, I right-click, rename requirement 1, hit enter. I'm good to go there with that requirement. And then it tells me drag region in the pivot table fields panel down to the rows box and sales to the value box. So region to rows and sales to values. So here's region. I move my mouse, I get that 4-way arrow, so I know I can drag it down to rows. And then it said sales to values. Okay, notice when I do that, I get this nice little summary of information. So I'm seeing all the different regions and the sum or the total of all the sales in those regions, and then a grand total of sales as well. So I took those 24 records and have summarized the information in a meaningful, useful way. Okay, this requirement is to find and correct errors. Well, I'm going to look at my regions. I have Midwest, New England, Northeast, another Northeast, but notice that Northeast has 2 E's, Southeast and West. So when I put this into a pivot table, I can see there's some typos in my data, and that is something I need to correct. So the tutorial will walk you through this, but basically I'm going to click back on my main tab, and I am going to do a find and replace. The best way to open up find and replace, honestly, is I can just hold down the control key and hit F, find and replace. And I'm going to hit the replace tab. And our misspelled word was northeast with 2 E's. So I type it in incorrectly because that's what I want to find. And then I'm going to replace it with the correct spelling, okay? I could just hit replace all right now, or I could hit find next to kind of see. Okay, see, there's the error. So I can hit replace and it changes it. And it was just one. There was just one typo, and that's okay. So now when I click back on the requirement 1, I can right click on that pivot table and choose refresh. And now my data looks much better. I got rid of that typo and I have fixed that. So again, we could use this for a lot of the different fields over here and try to find errors and fix our data. So it's important to find and fix errors before we run any analysis. So we basically did all of these steps. I just kind of condensed it down. And now we're at the end there. And I believe that we're also going to do it for insurance. Okay. So we want to replace the region and go by insurance types to find if there's any insurance type errors. So on the same requirement 1 that I'm still on, I'm going to drag region back up and drag insurance type down to rows. And again, then I can analyze my data and see that disability is spelled wrong. So I go do the same thing. So I go back into the main, open up my find and replace. This time I want to find disability with 2 S's and replace it with the correct spelling. There's one, so I can replace. And again, there's only one because we only have 24 records. When you do the full data set on the full project, you're going to find more errors. So you can always just hit replace all. I go back to requirement 1, right click on that pivot table and hit refresh. And now all of my insurance types are corrected. Okay. Then I would just keep going. Okay, so I've done all of requirement 1 and now I'm ready to move on to requirement 2. So again, I'm not going to walk through this whole tutorial with you because that would take some time, but you're just going to work through, you know, if you wanted to print off the tutorial, I think it's pretty long, but that's when that video is always nice. You can play the video on your phone or open it in another tab and have that playing and just pause it as needed to, you know, finish the work. So that's really in a nutshell what you're doing. Make sure as you're working through that you file save as, you know, save it to your documents or to the desktop or wherever you want to save it to, so you have that file. Because ultimately when you're finished, you've done all 8 requirements in that tutorial, then obviously you'll want to check your figures and make sure everything is correct, and then you're going to submit that file to me. Okay, so as you can see, it's giving you the rubric down here for all the requirements. So I will be opening up your file, checking it, grading it to make sure that you did it correctly. Once you've completed that, all of your check figures match, you've uploaded your completed Excel file with all 8 requirements, that's when you can complete Project 1 quiz. You want to keep your Excel file open for that because the questions are coming straight from that Excel file. So that will help you kind of make sure that you have all the right information. Okay, so the project itself is worth 45 points, and then you have the quiz worth 20 points. So all total, this project is worth 65 points. And again, it's just a great introduction to data analytics, which is becoming even more and more important in accounting and just in business in general. As we progress through the semester, probably after fall break, I plan on putting another short project out here, kind of similar length to this one, and it will be worth extra credit. So if you complete that, you can earn some extra credit towards your grade and get some valuable practice doing data analytics. Please remember to always email me or post in our Canvas discussion board forum if you have any questions. I would recommend you start working on this project now, just so you can see if you encounter any errors or problems that you can contact me before the due date. So otherwise, I hope you have a great day, and I hope you enjoy, learning a little bit about Excel and data analysis.